The fact that schools were given something, we were given teaching posts, and I suppose you felt then in the beginning that you had to engage, which was a good thing because it made us engage, and I think we did, and we took part in all aspects of it, and then that then in turn encouraged us to collaborate. I suppose the girls here that were first involved in it from the very beginning, they would have gone and they would have done the CPD and come back and I suppose share their knowledge of what they'd been learning, and I suppose they would have been the experts in literacy at the time because they both would have been reading recovery trained, and that's probably why they would have been selected to go into that role. So I think, I suppose being a small school too lent itself to collaboration more than maybe in a bigger school.
We would have been very much teaching your own class. You had your class, you taught everything. Whereas now it's a much, much different school. Like I can walk into Maria's room and sit down beside her and take a group in the same classroom, and you would be there teaching together in the same room. You've totally different groups, and you may have that little bit of planning going on back and forth. I'm doing this, that kind of way. It kind of just made us more aware of others. Walking in.
And what you said there, if we have a new teacher come in and she's not trained in reading recovery, or this is all new to her, that we would often do that. We'd often deliberately place two groups within the one classroom so that put her with a more experienced teacher, and then she will model, she will learn from the more experienced teacher by listening to her and her teaching techniques.
We had kind of tried to start it, hadn't we, a bit before this whole Limerick Schools initiative, but that really drove it.
It did.
We had started a little bit ourselves. They came
with the experience themselves. I remember at the time being the class teacher, and you had gone into the initiative. I had senior infants, and Barbara had come back, and we talked about even the experience that she had got and how we'd infiltrated throughout the school, and we brought in Astra, which was one way. So it was the push to go and then develop groups within the classroom situation, but it was using what Barbara had come from the initiative. We were talking about breaking the classrooms up into groups of kids and what we could do, and it suited that class at the time. Yeah. And you moved into junior infants then and started their initiative. We started
off a little junior infant initiative, and we kind of using the resource and learning support teachers in a different way as well. Because we used to, if you had a learning support, you might take your reading recovery child or whatever, and you were in your own little room. Whereas now, a lot of the learning support is used with team teaching in little small groups instruction for initiatives. So we run initiatives in juniors, seniors, and first.
It was offered to as a class teacher to come out and do CPD. So we went to the education centre. I went with Barbara at the time to the education centre, and there you met Anya Cregan and Martin Gleeson, and it was how the stuff was very practical that they gave us and how we could bring it back into our classrooms and how we could use it in our schools. And then that filtered into the rest of the class teachers that weren't able to avail of the training at the time, and we brought it through all of our curriculum targets and everything up along the way.
And I don't think class teachers were open at first either. You know,
what sort of
it was a bit of a push. I do remember that junior infants initiative. The first year we did it was a push, and we had a lot of no, I don't think it's any good, I don't think it's working, I don't really want it going on, that kind of way. But we kind of stuck with it and we pushed for it.
The second year we kind of...
And it really has taken off, and now they're begging for it.
Yeah.
So it's totally based on the balanced literacy framework, which it would have been.
We actually went back, like things like phonological awareness. We kind of had forgotten about it.
Yes.
Really, we had forgotten about it, and it wasn't a part. It wasn't
we hadn't been using it.
No, but we brought it back in, and we have a station, and we do it.
It's specifically taught now.
Yeah, and you can see the benefits of the junior infant initiative in senior infant.
It's that open door. It's that, and it's even for us, you come in and you have this great relationship with the staff members, but you close the door and you go in and you do your thing. Whereas now you can go and you can say the two reading recovery ladies who are so proficient at what they do. You know, I'm stuck on this, and what do I do? How do I make my group less stagnant? If you're involved in reading groups with children in your classroom, you know who to go to and who to talk to. You know, and the girls brought us on, like, if we did have an issue, you could try this, or what do I do in a writing group if I'm taking them out? Because before it was like, it was expected that you'd know, but we didn't. You know, and you're kind of muddling along, but then...
And now it's okay not to know, because it's okay to ask.
Yeah. And you know who to ask, and you know who's going to drive it for you and tell you how to get on with it. Like, and it's not, you know, it's not like, oh my God, I can't believe she doesn't know that.
And the class teacher isn't afraid to say, well, I can't tackle this class on my own. Like it was only like Sharon, the junior infant teacher, a couple of months ago said, look, I'm going to start another initiative, and we had done one already. And look, you take some of my class at that time so you can come on board. And she was able to, the class then were levelled according to their ability, and she was able to tackle the whole of the literacy curriculum within that hour.
Yeah.
Do you know, so...
And the children were fully engaged.
And using the learning support team in a completely different way as to what they would have been used before.
And you nearly kind of have to say to anybody coming in, a new teacher or a substitute teacher, you know, you're not going to be in here on your own. Like, you may have 3 teachers in on top of you for an hour in the day, and, you know, you have to deal with it, you know, whether they like it or not. And some teachers don't, because they're not used to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas we're kind of all
We're used to looking at
well
it.
used to it now, like,
But even I think when you're out in a learning support team, or you're in that role, before you had your own cohort, and you had your own few children, and you got to know them very well. Whereas now, being a small school, and like we have 4 mainstream classes, you get to know everybody. You know all of the classes. So you can help support the teacher in another way. You can pick up on needs that are in the classroom because you're in there so much. You know, more than it's kind of that collaborative practice where we're all together.
We'd have a policy at the end of the 3 years that they spend in St. Michael's. If they have, you know, a speech and language impairment, we would always get them reviewed before they move on, just for ourselves to see how they're getting on. And the latest review was very positive, you know, of the children. The speech and language therapist, the same one who did the initial assessment, came in, reassessed them and said, you know what, they don't need their hours anymore, they're ready to go. And even looking at their micro T results, there's one particular child with a really severe language impairment, and he got a 10 of 10. You know, but there was a combination of factors involved there. I think it was our involvement with the literacy initiative. It was the development of language groups that arose out of the initiative. It was the way we use our learning support and resource teachers as well. Obviously suited him, and I suppose involvement of parents would have been a key aspect in that particular case.
We filtered that back into the curriculum, as I said, into our classrooms, and we drove language. We had a huge focus on oral language in every part of our day in the classrooms. And then arising out of that, you could see the children that were not meeting the criteria and that we weren't meeting their needs, even though we were trying this in the classroom. So that was the time we pulled out again. So we rejigged what we were doing again based on that.
And I think a huge part of that now, even now with the new language curriculum, that really Anya Cregan had a huge part to play in, you know, that new curriculum. We're not one bit afraid of that new curriculum, you know, because we looked at it and we said, well, we're kind of doing that anyway, you know, and it's because Anya Cregan fed us a lot of that, you know, informally without us realising what she was doing. And now that we see the book, it all makes sense, you know, that she's kind of brought us on a journey. And now we're here with the book and we're saying, well, we're not, you know, I went to the in-service with a variety of schools, and they were so afraid of this book, of this new curriculum, and we're not. You know, we're not. We think it's great, you know, and
it's changed teacher confidence.
Yes, big time. Yeah.
This year, the teacher kind of we decided that we'd try something different, and we tried Stephen Graham's idea that we went to his CPD, the literacy hour. And where the children actually now are much more independent workers. So they're working at their own little independent stations, and the small group instruction only takes place like with one group every day or 2 groups. They're not all getting it every day, but they're working at independent stations. So we changed our way of teaching because the class didn't need 4 resource teachers or learning support teachers in there every day doing small group, you know. So
I think as well then, the way we use assessment now,
Yeah, very
we
different.
really
actually
use it different. We use it.
Yes.
It really informs our teaching. And I think all children, the vast majority, of course we're not going to be successful with all of them, but the vast majority we are successful with it. I think it's because we work within their zone of proximal development, because we're constantly assessing and we know where they're at and we know how to push them and how far to push them, so that I think they're experiencing success as well. And they love school, and I think it does affects their attitude towards school.
Yeah.
With their literacy coming on, then I found as a class teacher that it opened up other areas of the curriculum. Then it made it an awful lot easier to teach history, to teach science, because if you did give them a little bit of writing to do, or if they had to make a prediction in science, they were able to do it. They were able to tackle it easier.
Yeah.
Tackle it
They had the
an awful lot
skill.
better.
Yeah,
Yes.
they had the skill.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have known the teachers next door, or in presentation, whereas now we can kind of
We can share resources.
can share
they'll
literally,
ring us and say, "Can we borrow
this?" Or
Yeah.
even that in itself
Yes.
opened up.
But I think
doors.
when you went in and you developed like the friendships and the relationships
Yeah.
that you had, and there was a sharing of practice there coming back, feeding into both schools. Even this year, like talking to the other school about language groups and how we worked that and how that was successful for us, and they've taken it on.
board,
Sharing of that, because we were able to say it did work and we have evidence of it working. This is where we started from and this is where we got to. Why don't you try?
Whereas before, you'd never share anything.
No.
You'd be
You know-
nearly, I'm not telling them
That's
what
mine.
they're
Yeah,
not,
that's
you know,
mine.
like,
Right,
you
yeah.
want to be better or
But now
whatever.
you don't. You
No.
want to share.
Well, it's
Yeah.
true.
It
It
is,
was
yeah.
like that. There
It
was
was.
awful
Peeping out the window across the way.
competition, So now it's much more open, and you can kind of ring them up or call on somebody and ask for help.
We've no problem ringing people and asking, can we come visit your school and look at whatever. We took on Ashton, we visited at school, Corpus Christi, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. No problem asking, could we? And they have no problem saying, come on,
Yes.
So we did, and it was great. You learn so much from others.
Yes. From other
Yeah.
teachers.
Yeah.
Rather
Yeah.
than
Somebody telling you what
Yeah.
to do. Like, yes.
Yeah.
But it's even outside of that, when you go on different courses, but you have developed a friendship with people from other schools. So you go, like I did the maths recovery course,
Yeah.
and then I did the maths wrong, and you go and you already know the faces, and so you're chatting about whatever is going on at the course, but you're also chatting about other things.
Yeah.
So you're saying, like discussing Astra teams or discussing what they did different this year. So you never have that awkwardness of trying to, meet somebody for the first time and make small talk. You're straight into it because you
Yeah.
already know each other.
Yes.
So you're sharing practice about everything across
And you're
the curriculum
engaging
and
in
your
professional
schools.
conversations.
Yeah, all the
that you
time.
might not necessarily have done before.
Yes.
So that is huge. Yeah.
The teacher in presentation is experiencing the same problems that you're experiencing, that you do come back more rejuvenated to tackle that problem. You're not as deflated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
You're
it's just-
you kind of think, look, if she
Not
can get
just
on
my
with it
problem,
over,
yeah.
I'll try, and you'll try a new
Yeah.
strategy, or like that, you'll discuss it with your
Yeah.
colleagues.
It's different now because I think the multi-agency approach, we had the DES, we're very lucky to have a local DES office here in Limerick. So we had them, and then we had the LEC, and then we had Mary Mackle College, and then ourselves. I think that multi-agency approach helped, and even meeting the department, me through the USCIL meetings, meeting the department, and when we were the literacy teachers and we had meetings, regular meetings with them, the network teachers, it was great, because when an inspector comes to the school now,
They know what's in
we don't
front
care,
of them.
it's like, come in, we don't
They're
know
kind of
problem.
Used,
Yeah.
We're well used to them, and that's, we're not afraid of inspectors, whereas before I think that was the impression that
Yes.
people had, oh, there's the inspector. But we don't feel like that. We like to see them come because, we like to showcase what we're doing, and I think that has come from the initiative as well. Having them involved, the policy makers, is really important.
And I suppose we can see too that what we're doing is working from the results.
Yeah.
Do on the ground, the
Absolutely.
teachers can see. It's like what I said with access and other parts of the curriculum. Like, I'm not saying that within the classroom it's not frustrating, but it's not as frustrating as what it was. you can see that you're getting somewhere, you can see results.
They are achieving success, they are feeling confident, they
Working
are
at their
happy.
own level.
They're
They
working
don't
at
know
their
what's
level.
going on, or they don't seem to care what's going on in the group next.
They don't
No,
see
no,
a
they
difference
don't
between
see
their
it,
group
I
or the
don't
next
think.
group.
And I think
You know.
starting it in junior infants, I think the transitioning it straight from the beginning all the way up, by the time they come to first class, like Barbara said, because they have so much of it done, we can change the approach, we can adapt it by the time they come to first class, because they're so proficient at
Yeah.
performing in that group situation. You know, it's seamless and it becomes
It's
fluid.
not-
There's
yeah.
none of the issues. We had to amend it at one stage because we had
Yeah.
2 classrooms, 2 classes. Before it was all taking place in one classroom,
Yeah.
and the teachers were moving, or the children were moving. Then we changed it and we had 2 classrooms split,
Teachers
and
moving.
the teachers moved. And you know, it was just matter of fact. There was no big hurdle. It wasn't an issue. This is the way we're going to do it. Let's move on. You know, it became like that. All those small nitty-gritty issues are gone.
Yeah.
You know, those classroom management issues.
And even simple things like giving children a break, they're just running up and downstairs, they're going to a different room. It's actually a movement break, and you find that when they do come to you, they're ready to settle down. Do you know, they don't have that kind of edginess.
Yeah.
They're on the
Traditionalist in the
move
chair.
all the time, and they're
Yeah.
not sitting in their classroom all day long. They're moving constantly, like,
Very good.
Yeah.
you know, which
That's
is
important.
it is
Yeah.
positive.
They're
like,
small,
for
it's
small
important.
kids.
Yeah.
It is.
Personally, I'd say the CPD sessions. I would have to say that, from where it brought me as a class teacher and where I moved, even personally, professionally, I do think they were invaluable. We went to data analysis training.
Oh, I love that.
We did all of those,
Yeah.
and that was changing for us.
It's
Even how we
fantastic.
were
How to
to
analyse
use
results.
our assessments and to use that properly was brilliant. And to actually take the time, what you can see, what's available to you from data, was eye-opening, like, wasn't it, at that time?
And you went and did your, like, I mean, encouraged you to go back.
Of course, I met Marie Ryan that day at the training.
Yeah.
I discussed her, and I went back on myself and did a grad dip, and then did my masters from there. But that was the window where it started, you know, and it kind of opened back up the doors. I hadn't been in Mary I since my own BEd, you know, and it kind of opened back up the doors where
Yeah.
you weren't as
It gave us an
nervous.
appetite,
Yeah.
I suppose,
Yeah.
for learning and for research.
That
Bouncing
would
off
be
of colleagues.
the biggest
I
thing.
can't do this. And I suppose that for me would have started with the reading recovery. That when we would all come together, and my group that year, we were a very good group for sharing problems and like hashing out problems together. And I suppose now we have that within our staff.
Yeah.
Do you know that even within the classroom, they're not your 25 kids anymore. They're all of our kids. Do you
We're
know?
all
And
responsible.
if I have a problem as a class teacher, I can go to Barbara and go, Lord, do you know, this isn't working. And there is more communication as a staff. And I
Even if
think
it's
that's
something
brilliant.
as simple as, will you just
Yeah.
take that group for the next few
Yeah.
weeks, and I'll take a different group
Yeah.
because I need a break.
Yeah.
And
we
to
had
know that,
Yeah, we
you
had
do
that.
need
we
that.
had that last year.
But to know that you can
And
do that is
yeah.
good.
And because I suppose then, I know as a reading recovery teacher, I feel more comfortable taking the weaker kids because that's where my training is. Do you know? And we had that
Yeah.
last year. Maria, you were sick of the weaker group,
Yeah.
and I was sick of doing all the higher order strategies within the classroom and within my group. So we did a swap, and it was great.
Yeah.
And you'd never have done that years ago.
And
do
you know, even as at that time, for myself, taking that group and having them all the time, and you feel like you're hammering and you're working away so hard trying to get it done, and there's nothing settling. And I remember saying it to Mary, I don't think I'm getting anywhere. How is this possible? Mary said, let's change it up and then when Mary could come back and say to me, no, Maria, it's okay. It's
have
just
Yeah.
you're very weak and everything. Professionally and personally,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, oh, that's actually okay. It wasn't just me, you know?
Yeah.
The biggest thing for me was the opening up, and you know, I'd nearly have stopped teaching had you walked into my room. Do you know
Yeah.
that kind of way?
Yeah.
Whereas now you wouldn't even dream of it. You'd just continue on, or you'd say, "Hey, hang on a minute, can you give us a hand here?" kind of a thing. But it is true. Like it has
Yeah, but it has totally changed
really
our
changed.
staff dynamic,
Yeah.
Yes.
hasn't it? Like, and then we all went in and out on maternity leaves and different things happen in schools. But like Barbara was upstairs and I was downstairs, and that's the way it was,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
when, yeah.
Yeah, when we first started with the initiative, and I remember going on the training sessions with Barbara, being kind of I was on staff, but I didn't know Barbara. You know, and we're a small school.
Yeah. There's an awful lot of testing done there at one stage with Crop Johnson's and all this kind of stuff that really was kind of seemed to be very rushed. I was involved at that time, and we were just basically told that you had to do this, and you had to go around to other schools, testing in other schools and everything. I mean, those tests are in a filing cabinet, and they've never been looked at. We've never been taught how to actually use them. They really weren't suitable for our kids, like, because they were just too young. We could only do it on seniors, and we got nothing from them. So that for us was a waste, and we were kind of getting
on every year, didn't it?
Yeah, we had to do them, and we were getting frustrated at that stage. Now we were saying, why? Like, this is just
because we had a bank of
waste
assessments
time.
ourselves that we were using. We were good.
But we also saw the use of an assessment now. Okay, years ago we might have just put them and filed them in a cabinet and said, yeah, they're done. Whereas now we want to get something from them.
Yeah.
So if we're going to spend weeks testing kids, we want to actually be able to use it, and that we have never used those. Now we have used the BPVS a lot.
We were using that before anyway.
Yeah,
before the
new,
and we got access to the
new editions or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah,
and we get something from that.
we do. Yeah, that's a great screening test.
Yeah. But the Woodcock Johnson, we got nothing.
No,
from
it's just
and
clogging up my filing cabinet and being told I have to keep them, and I'm like, why? You know, we have actually never used them.
I suppose what would we want more of? I think definitely the CPD that Anya Cregan and Martin Gleeson.
Super.
I'd listen to them all day, every day.
That all staff would have had the opportunity.
Yeah, and the data analysis.
We
said that day.
Yeah. I even emailed after that just to compliment, because it was just so good.
There was this dissemination of information. That's what they kind of want to do, but that's very difficult to do when you go back to your school and you don't. And everyone says Croke Park hours. Croke Park hours don't last forever. Do you know, that kind of way?
Yes.
And really, in your day, you don't have any planning time, so it is all.
It's
at break times, and it's in between lessons, and it's after school time, you know, that kind of way. So that part was quite difficult. So like, if more staff had opportunities to attend those days,
and especially with staff turnover. See what Mary was saying a while ago, if subs come in or if somebody's covering a leave or anything like that, because staff turnover, because not everybody's trained all the time. You know, it wasn't universal, wasn't given to everybody. So you're looking for those fleeting moments where you can pass on that information, or you know, give them an opportunity to see what's going on. So it's kind of time management issues, really.
I think the Oscar network of principals definitely, you know, fed into it too, because it was great for us to meet together, because we developed relationships, because, you know, everything has to be run by the principal of the school if you want to go and visit. So I think that because we had that network, you know, available to us, and we had the meeting set aside, you know, it was a great way to sorry, can you go out? It was a great way for us, you know, to build relationships with other principals, and if we needed to visit a school, it was easier to pick up the phone and ask. There was no problem, you know.
friendships have been made. I've made great friends out of the whole initiative from other schools, like, you know, 2 schools in particular. I've made great friends that I never knew, and, you know, it is positive.
And the results with the kids.
The results
on the ground,
definitely,
you know.
Can
It's
you see it?
and even utilising homeschool community liaison coordinators would have been a good idea too. But look, that was a learning experience. It's still a very, very successful programme, and it was great to be, you know, it's great to be involved in it.
All positive.
All positive, I would say 99% positive.
And during the course of it, it had its ups and it had its downs, but you kind of forget about the downs after the few weeks of giving out about it or whatever, and you kind of just got on with it, you know. Well, it's true.
It is true.
It is true. Like, you know, there were times when we were like, oh, for goodness sake, but it all kind of has positive is definitely stronger. Like.